All right, guys, so this is a video I've wanted to do for some time now. I think it is just fundamentally important in terms of long-term success in this process, whether you be a competitor or whether you be a lifestyle client. And that is a good understanding and essentially a tutorial on how to track your macros. Okay, now I speak about it a lot, but what I'm gaining in the last few weeks from clients' interactions, especially a lot of new clients, local clients, and beginners, is that there is still a lack of understanding in terms of how to strategize around that and how to do this efficiently. So I think the first thing I want to cover is why. Why should you be tracking your macros? Why is that important? Now, I completely understand the context for following a meal plan. If you are a competitor and you're 10 weeks out, 12 weeks out, 8 weeks out, 6 weeks out, and you want to lock things down, remove any variables that could potentially be skewing your progress, remove any variables that could be potentially skewing data as a proxy of your progress, follow a meal plan. By definition, that is not going to be long-term. It is simply an acute solution for a given period of time and a given context, all right? That being said, for a lifestyle client where you're by definition, by the name of what we're saying there, lifestyle client, we're trying to make this a lifestyle, and that implies this being flexible and sustainable forever. All right. For a competition prep athlete who is not in prep, maybe they're in their improvement phase, maybe they're in a maintenance phase. The last thing we want to be doing is setting up a situation when they do start prep, they're feeling deprived and they're feeling restricted, and that makes prep all the more difficult and unsustainable. Okay, so this would be why I would want to add in a level of flexibility to most people's approach, given the context of the time and the phase that they're in. All right, now I get this. I mean, I've had this literally 4 to 5 times this week already, where somebody says to me, Matt, give me a meal plan, you tell me what I need to do and I'll do it. There are no issues. Okay, and a couple days later, a couple weeks later, it's like, well, it's Christmas, I'm going out to this event, I have a family dinner, I'm going on vacation, I'm traveling, I don't think I'm going to be able to follow the meal plan while I'm away. And I'm like, well, that's exactly why I emphasize the importance of learning how to track your numbers, because having a meal plan that you cannot deviate from and is super restrictive is going to put you in a place that when you are faced with events like that, you are going to deviate to the point of regressing. If at least you can estimate your numbers, track your macros, during times like that, it allows you the flexibility to at the very least maintain, if not continue to progress. All right, so now that we've covered the why, let's switch over to kind of a screen recording of general strategy and instructions of how to track your numbers. All right, guys, so I'm trying to do this as efficiently as possible. I'm doing a screen recording on the MyFitnessPal mobile app that I'm going to try and pop onto the screen as I'm talking, because I know the mobile app is what most people are using versus the desktop version. So that just makes the most sense. I've set macros that you can see at the top here of 200 grams protein, 250 carb, and 50 fat, just very generic numbers. Something that's not going to be too extreme in terms of fat loss or too extreme in terms of massing, somewhere that's a little bit middle of the road, all right? And you'll see here I have kind of named the meals, meal 1, snack 1, meal 2, pre-training, post-training, and intra. So the first thing that you want to do is like consider these macros as essentially like your budget that you're working with, right? And you're trying to fit this budget within the day. Now, the way that I work, and generally for most people, particularly athletes, is going to be you are going to have specified numbers surrounding your workout, all right? So we're going to take care of those first. This rule would also apply if you are going to like an event. Like if you're going out for dinner, if you have like right now, like year-end functions are happening, you would log that meal first because you know that's probably going to be the highest calorie meal of the day, and you're going to have to fit everything else around that, okay? But for now, we're going to just take this as a standard day, and we're going to log our pre, intra, and post-workout meals first. Now, what we're going to know, and this is a general rule, is that like 30 to 50% of your total carbs are going to come around the workout, okay? So we're going to log the workout first. We're going to look for Biogen Rage Rampage. Okay. Sorry, Biogen Ultra Fuel, Rage Ultra Fuel. There we go. So 1 scoop contains 15 grams of carbs, 2.4 grams of protein. We're going to log 1.5 scoops of that, so 22.5 grams of carbohydrates. So you can see that's been added in. Then we're going to add the pre-training meal. So for me, and again, important to understand here, food choices are largely irrelevant to a certain extent. If we're just dealing with the fundamentals of what we're talking about here, we're just looking at hitting these numbers, okay? So this is what I would usually eat, but you know, your food choices are up to you. So we're gonna go 50 grams cream of rice. We're gonna go Biogen whey. We got the Asa whey. We're gonna go with 1 scoop of that. And then we're gonna go with almond butter. 10 grams, we're gonna go with 12 grams of that, so 6.4 grams of fat, okay? Post-workout meal, generally what I have is an egg white omelet, so I'm gonna search for egg whites. Okay, we're gonna have 1 cup. And this is probably a good time to point out, MyFitnessPal and a lot of other tracking applications have user-generated entries, okay? Which means that there can be errors in the amounts, the macronutrient amounts, or the calorie amounts that they're specifying. So as a general rule of thumb, either correlate the entry on MyFitnessPal with what it says on the packaging, or just enter your own entries so you can make sure that they're as accurate as possible. Okay, I'm gonna have a whole egg, so large egg. I'm gonna add that. I'm going to add 1.5 English muffins. Woolworths English muffin, we're gonna have 1.5, giving us 37 grams of carbs. We're gonna have lean bacon, 30 grams of that. Okay, and then we're gonna have spinach, baby spinach, roughly 50 grams. And we're gonna have peppers. Red peppers, green peppers, doesn't really matter too much. We're gonna have, and also like generally what I'd recommend, don't measure in cups and tablespoons and so on. That can be fairly inaccurate. Look for a entry that allows you to use grams and use grams, okay? So that's what you see I'm doing here. I'm struggling to find one that has grams. This should do it. 1 gram, we're gonna have 50 grams of that. Alrighty, so let's kind of review where things stand right now. We have pre-training 43 grams of carbs, post-training 46 grams of carbs, so we're sitting on about 90, and then intra-workout we're sitting on 22. All right, so we're sitting on about 112 grams of carbohydrates. Our goal is 250. So we're sitting within that region of 40 to 50% of carbs around training. So as you can see at the top of the screen, we've got 33 grams of fats, 138 carbs, and 120 grams of protein remaining. All right. So really for me, okay, post is basically my first 2 meals of the day because I train in the morning. But ultimately it doesn't matter. Those pre, intra, and post macros and meals will always just bracket the workout wherever the workout falls within the day. Okay, very important to understand that. So my next meal would generally just kind of be a quick little snack. I'm just going to use what I had today, which is oats, instant oats. We're going to have about 50 grams of that. We're going to have more of the Biogen whey protein. Asa whey. We actually had 2 scoops of that today. And we had frozen berries. All right, roughly 100 grams. All right. Then for dinner tonight, what I know that I'm having is sorry, spelling error. The Checkers Homeburger lean beef patties. Lean patties, there we go. We're gonna have one of those. We're gonna have an Albany bun. And again, I just want to reiterate, food choices here are irrelevant. So whether you're here in South Africa or you're in Europe or you're in the US or you're in Canada, just apply. This is about the logic and the planning and the strategy, not about the specific food choices, okay, which I'm going to cover a little bit more detail later. Then I'm going to have Triggs, which are kind of like baked corn chips, almost like I don't know, like low fat, low calorie nachos kind of thing. And we're gonna have 35 grams with that meal. We're also gonna have some mixed veggies. All right, we're gonna have about 85 grams of that. All these seem to be by cup. All right, so let's just say half a cup for now. This is where I would go ahead and say, listen, just look at the vegetables that you're using, or look at the food item you're using, look at the nutritional label, and add it onto MyFitnessPal yourself. Just create your own food so that you have an accurate gram amount representation of the macros. All right, so now we know we have 7 grams of fat, 26 grams of carbs, and 29 grams of protein to hit for the remainder of the day. So this meal is essentially going to be cooked jasmine rice. All right. And again, they're not giving it to us in cups, in grams, excuse me. So we're going to add 100 grams of that. And please note, again, I was very specific. I searched for cooked jasmine rice. So when you're logging, you need to make sure the way that you're logging is representative of how you're weighing the food. So if it is cooked, you need to measure it cooked and log it cooked. If you're measuring it raw, then you need to log it raw. Okay. And again, I'm going to search for grilled chicken breast. Right, there we go. And we're going to have 170 grams with that meal. All right, so now we go back to our diary. We're pretty much where we need to be. We can see, all right, at this top here, we have 5 grams of fat remaining. We're over in carbs by 1 gram, which is not a big deal. I give you an allowance of 2 to 3 grams to be over or under by, but we're over in protein by 12 grams, all right? So essentially, I'm just going to go to this meal where I had 2 scoops of the ISOA, and I'm just gonna change it to 1.5 scoops. And now you can see we're in range with protein, we're in range with carbs, but fats are a little bit low. So then I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to look, all right, where can I add a little bit more fats? All right, cool. I'm going to add them to this meal here with the almond butter. I'm going to log 16 grams. All right, we're still under a little bit, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to log it as 20 grams just to see where that puts us. Now we can see we're in range with fats, we're in range with carbs, and we're in range with protein. So I would be more than happy with this particular day. All right. But let's see how we make an adjustment here. So we've logged chicken breast for lunch, for example. Now, what if I don't have chicken? This is a very good example for people that say, hey, no, I want to follow a meal plan. It's much easier for me. Okay, but what happens when shit goes down? What happens when life happens? Okay, sometimes you haven't cooked chicken. So what are you going to do? All right, we're going to have to replace that with something else. Let's say you have, for example, beef fillet cooked. Here we go. That's what I eat a lot. Mixed pepper crusted beef fillet. All right. So we're going to add in 170 grams of that. But we can see, okay, this actually contains a little bit of carbs, a little bit of fat, and the protein. So this is probably going to change the numbers, right? So now we're a little over in carbs, a little bit over in fats, and a little bit under in protein. So I'm going to go ahead and up that serving to 1.9 to make sure that we hit our protein goal. But now we're over in carbs and fats. So what do? Well, we have to adjust, right? So I'm going to bring that oat serving down to 45 grams. And all of a sudden now we're in line for everything else, right? Let's make another adjustment. Let's do a weird one here. Let's just say you have a weird craving and you need to have some chocolate. You feel like some Lindt, all right? So with your, let's say, pre-workout meal, all right, you have Lindt, the Lindt balls, and you have 2 of them. All right. Well, two chocolates, 1 serving. So that gives you 10 grams of carbs, 12 grams of fat, and 1.2 grams of protein. All right. Now you're following a meal plan. Now you fucked up. Now you're over. So what do? Most people's initial instinct is to go, well, I fucked up already, so I might as well eat what I want over the course of today. That's not the approach that we take. All right, so instead, we're going to go, okay, right now, as you can see at the top here, we're 13 grams over in fat, we're 11 grams over in carbs. We need to make some adjustments. What do? How do we bring this down? All right, where is our fat? Okay, so we're getting fat from the whole egg. So I'm just going to reduce that, and I'm going to add in a little bit more egg whites, right? I'm going to add in 1.5 cups of egg whites, an extra half a cup. Well, that's put me over in terms of my protein, so I'm just going to bring it down a little bit and make it 1.2. All right, now my carbs are over. So what do I do to address that? Okay, I'm just going to bring down this cream of rice serving, right? Because I had the Lindt with my pre-workout meal, so I can adjust that down. Now my carbs are in range, but my fat is still 8 grams over. So I'm going to bring down my almond butter to 10 grams. And that puts me 3 grams over in fat. So now we're within range of everything. All right. So I've shown you the general strategy here. Start logging your most important or largest meals of the day first. All right. So for most of you guys, that will be your pre-workout, your post-workout, and your intra-workout drink. All right. On an unusual occasion where you're going out and you have an event, you want to be logging that meal first. Now that can often be just a pure estimation, all right? MyFitnessPal is going to have a big database. Most tracking apps are going to have big databases. Estimations of restaurant type food. Always overestimate in most cases so that we're not underestimating and then we end up way overeating. Always overestimate your macros, but log it, even though you know it's not going to be 100% accurate, log it so you have some fundamental understanding and approximation of where you are. If we need to adjust later in the week or the subsequent week, we can, but some data is better than nothing. Once you have your biggest meals of the day, pre, intra, and post, or an off-plan meal logged, then you build in the rest of your meals around that, making sure that you still hit those numbers. Okay. Any questions, please hit me up over email, but I think that covers the very basic logistics, strategy, and planning behind tracking your food.